Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are listening. Today we have quite a bit of things to talk about. Let's look at Venezuela. This is something that I am so happy to have going on today. All my life, there's been a war on drugs. You know the war on drugs. It's been in our schools, it's been in our communities, definitely in our politics. The war on drugs. I don't think it was an actual war. I think it was a war on America by drug producers, partially supported by the politicians because it got them money and it helped them get votes. The war on drugs is a real war now. It has never been a real war until now. Finally, we have a president who is actually seizing and destroying cartel boats, and now he has ousted the dictator of Venezuela, Maduro, and he's actually doing the one thing that no amount of money and no amount of peace politics could ever have done. He's instituting a regime change in a corrupt country. Now, most countries are already corrupt, so that it doesn't really matter if we throw that adjective on there. It's a regime change in a country that has been at war with America through drugs and politics. Now, if you don't believe that Venezuela has been at war with us, all you have to do is turn on the news, or better yet, go to YouTube and just search Maduro. Search what he has been saying about America and how he feels about our way of life. Now, I don't know too much about Venezuela, and I don't know too much about Maduro. I really don't. I know what's been in the news in the recent couple years. I really don't care about any of the history. I really don't care. That's the problem with a lot of American politics is we have politicians that have been in office for many, many decades, and they have too good of a memory. My generation, which is one of the younger generations, we are not interested in maintaining the feuds of the old world. I do like history, though. History is very informative. When you look at all the presidents going back to World War II, I believe that there has been failed regime changes, failed implementations of democracy and hope and peace and prosperity across the world. That's why we're dealing with Israel and Gaza. That's why we're dealing with Russia and Ukraine. And now, finally, we're dealing with what is at our southern border and our own hemisphere in South America. Venezuela, which could have been an ally for many, many decades, we have allowed the ideologies of communism and socialism to creep into our own backyard. We went to war in Korea, we went to war in Vietnam, and we allowed these things to happen in our own backyard. It never should have happened. I'm with Elon Musk. We need a human-based ideology in our minds and hearts. If you don't have religion, maybe you can at least be human-focused. That is probably the biggest letdown of the 21st century, is we are still killing each other in wars instead of furthering our own progress and development. People around the world desire the same things. I'm convinced that people are basically the same. We desire prosperity, we desire hope, we desire freedom, we desire the ability to make our own way. And that has been taken from most of the world. If you're listening in the United States, chances are is you are of the 1%. We're talking worldwide. You are of the 1%. Especially if you're listening in any version of suburban America. We are so privileged to not have any kind of adversity. The adversity we have is it's maybe $3 a gallon at the gas pump. Maybe eggs are $6 a dozen. Maybe they ran out of your favorite soy milk in the grocery store. There you go. You're out of soy milk. That's the hardest thing you have going on in your life. And it's incredibly sad, really. Here is something I wish everybody would take to their hearts. Adversity builds character, and we are lacking character in this country. We're lacking character in the world. I am so happy and so grateful that we have an American president who has the character to stand against evil and to stand up for what is right, even though it is difficult. America is doing some difficult things right now. I believe we will come out of it with greater character. Speaking of gas prices, Venezuela, the richest oil reserves in the world, we're going to add that to our economic portfolio in America. What do you think that's going to do to transportation in this country? You want to give people a leg up in this country, folks. Lower transportation costs. That hits the family checkbook. That hits, well, I should say debit card. Checkbooks aren't a thing anymore. That hits the family debit card and bank account. That hits the grocery prices. That hits construction prices. Anything that has to be moved or transported, including yourself. Lower gas prices. You'll see every other price index in the country fall. That is opportunity. If you have the opportunity to go make a living because you have inexpensive transportation and fuel costs, then you really do have the freedom to make your own way. And that's what we want in this country. Folks in this country are upset because they don't like the backyard politics. The problem is most people, and I would call these people conservatives. I'm getting away from the labels of Democrat and Republican because you have such a spectrum of people in both of those camps. But if we look at it from a liberal and conservative, it's a pretty clear dividing line. The conservatives are pretty happy about a lot of things going on. Government is shrinking, fraud is being exposed, the war on drugs is succeeding finally. We have hope on the horizon for lower interest rates and lower fuel prices. Our southern border is more secure than it has ever been in my lifetime. However, the liberals, they're focused on anything other than reality. I would say they're focused mostly on feelings. Do what feels good, not what is good. I think the liberals have lost their moral compass. I really do. We have had such success with Robert Kennedy Jr. Recently, he just changed our food pyramid. Now, he didn't really change anything. We all knew what was right and what was true. But rather than allowing propaganda to be shoved down the throats of America and allowing the big food industry to run rampant in our schools and in our cafeterias and our lunchrooms, he told the truth. Eat less carbs, eat less sugar. You need fat in your body. You need protein in your body. It's beyond me. I don't know why it's taken 50 years for us to be honest about what we consume. Food is a basic common denominator. But moving on to more things that feel good but aren't good, let's talk about voting and elections. Quick raise of hands. Who should be allowed to vote in our elections? Now I'm talking American elections. Should Americans be allowed to vote in American elections? Yes. Should non-Americans be allowed to vote in American elections? If you answered yes again, you might be part of the problem. And I'll explain why. This is a really simple concept. Sit down if you don't know where this is heading. Your mind is about to be blown. This is America. And that's it. This is America. If you believe in any kind of jurisdictional authorities, any kind of responsibility, who should be allowed to live in your house is exactly the same question. There's literally no difference in those questions. Who should live in your house? If you say anything other than you, yourself, you might be part of the problem. Who should be allowed to vote in our elections? It is the people who own this house. That means Americans. You need to be a citizen, and you have to be able to show it. Well, what about the constitutional citizen? What's that thing? The voting tax. What about the constitutional vote tax? If you require people to show they have an ID, that creates a cost upon them, and that's a fee to vote, and that you can't do that. You know what? You know what is also a undue cost upon the heads of the citizens? It is responsibility. That is a cost every person should be willing to pay. And you know what? This is a problem with our infrastructure. And this is something that Elon Musk and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have been serious about solving. Is there a reason why, with all the background checks and all the fingerprinting and all of the applications and all of the government systems and everything you have done through your whole life, everything from your school ID cards, all the way from middle school through college, your work IDs, your background checks, your mortgage applications, everything you've ever done, is there a reason why they don't know who you are? We already know they know who we are. Anybody complaining about proving who you are at the poll is complacent, and they have an agenda and they have an agenda to subvert basic common sense. Nobody gets to come into my house if I don't know who they are. That's the basic idea here. Folks, if you are required to have ID to live and express yourself within the rights you are guaranteed under our Constitution, let's talk this Second Amendment. You have to have an ID to buy a gun. I don't enshrine voting rights higher than any of our constitutional rights. And I say constitutional as in our Bill of Rights. Press has to have an ID. You have to be identified as press. We have freedom of the press. Now, it doesn't take much to have freedom of speech, but in some places, yes. Do you have to verify yourself on social media? Mostly, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You even have to sign in to speak at your local city council. You have to identify yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. I cannot wait until President Trump reforms our voting system and gets us some solid voter ID protections. I think the day that happens, we will see the most fair and truthful voting in America. We're going to wrap it up here. One more thing. Anybody interested in the end times? Anybody? You ever wake up and read the news and think, this has got to be it? Well, here's something along those lines, because it definitely ties in. There is a new LDS president of the Quorum of 12 Apostles. That is Dieter Uchtdorf. He is a very fascinating guy. He's not originally from America, but regardless of whether you're religious and regardless of whether you have any opinions about the LDS Church, if you are interested in truth, in history, this church is the church that settled the American West. Look into it. This is the most American religion that we have on earth today. And they're still going strong. They're growing. And they have a new president of the Quorum of 12 Apostles. They will be ordaining a new apostle here soon. So if you are unfamiliar with the church, highly recommend look into it. Its history is American history, and its future is really the future of the world. If you disagree with me, leave me a comment in the comment section, and I will see you tomorrow. This has been Idaho Rush Report, and have a good day.